What I find so interesting talking about House of the Dragon is the fact we still know so little about what time period it's actually going to cover. We know it's going to deal with Targaryens in some way, but it's still very unclear if it will start with events such as Aegon's Conquest or jump in history at a later point such as the Dance of Dragons. If the show does start with Aegon's Conquest, then something I'm looking forward to seeing is what kind of character Aegon was, as we don't really know too much about him as a person. He comes across as a bit of an enigma when compared to what we know about other Targaryen kings, and even his peers of the time. We know much about Visenya, Rhaenys, and even Orys Baratheon as people, more so than Aegon himself. In a way, I think keeping him this mystery helped preserve the almost mythological status of him in the history of Westeros. Now, I think it's important to talk about Aegon, because if Aegon's Conquest is the start point, then Aegon, Rhaenys and Visenya are going to be the three lead characters, and because of that, Aegon is going to have a lot more of his character exposed than he has up to this point. So what I want to do is look at what we do know about him and his personality and try to extrapolate how he might be shown in House of the Dragon. We know that Aegon was an intelligent person, well read and a great strategist. Before the Conquest, he spent time in Old Town visiting the Citadel, where he spent hours in the libraries, as well as the Starry Sept. A lot of the choices he made during this time were calculated and well thought out. They made his path to conquest inevitably easier. Two that spring to mind for me is converting to the Faith of the Seven, knowing it would make him more palatable to the Lords. Him travelling around Westeros and constructing the Painted Table allowed him to learn about the people and the realm he wished to make his own. It's clear from the moment he set his eyes on Westeros that he had a plan, gathering local lords to his banner and engaging in politics. Something to me that points to this is how the High Towers did not take part in the Field of Fire and open the gates of Old Town when Aegon arrived. Maybe he'd already negotiated with them. From the moment he landed, his swift actions suggested he knew exactly what he was doing. No, he definitely had some sort of sense of honour. It's said he married Rhaenys out of love and Visenya out of duty. He married the person he loved, but also did his duty marrying his older sister as well. His treatment of lords who bent the knee, such as Torrhen Stark, highlight how he could be fair in rule and treat his former foes with respect, even giving the lords who bent the knee at the Field of Fire clemency. On the other side of this though, he also could show his traditional Targaryen side, fire and blood, more so in the burning of Harrenhal and the Field of Fire. For example, him telling Harren the Black, "Your line will end," is something I could see Daenerys saying in the main books. But other examples, such as the burning of Dorne after the death of Rhaenys, also spring to mind. Many innocent people died for Aegon's vengeance. Aegon exemplified a true Targaryen, acting with honour, being a good and just king, but also having the mental fortitude to bring fire and blood if need be. It said he was quite a solitary person, with Orys Baratheon his only true friend, and if Orys was a Targaryen bastard, like is suggested, it would mean he'd have no friends outside of his family. Now, this could perhaps suggest he had trouble making friends, but in my view, that the only people he truly trusted were his inner circle of Rhaenys, Visenya and Orys. He spent 10 nights with Rhaenys for every one with Visenya, which shows how much he loved her, and I think this will be a key relationship on screen. I have no doubt he loved Visenya, but not the same way he did Rhaenys. It will be an interesting dynamic to watch play out. What I find interesting is that as Visenya and Aegon got much older, more so after the birth of Maegor, they did grow more distant, hardly ever spending any time together. Much of this was put down to Visenya wanting Maegor to be on the throne over Aenys, Aegon's son by Rhaenys. It may have put strain on their relationship with Aegon. I also interpret Aegon as seemingly loyal and clean-cut sort of man. He does not seem to have fathered any bastards and seems to have been faithful to his wives. Something I find interesting with this is after Rhaenys died and Visenya had yet to give him a child, he refused to take another wife, maybe out of a sense of loyalty to the lost love of Rhaenys and to Visenya as well. Him raising Orys to a lord maybe points to him being loyal to the people close to him. What would be interesting is if during the conquest, minor lords tried to pay Aegon off, keep him away from their lands. I suppose, in a way, that's what Argilac Darden tried to do by offering him lands and his daughter. Aegon saying no to this says a lot about his character. Even when his counter-proposal of Orys marrying Argilac's daughter was shot down, he still refused and stood by his half-brother and wives. Something I think might be interesting to look at is the theory that Aegon maybe knew about the Long Night, and that may have been a factor in his choice to conquer Westeros. Some people put forth the idea of Aegon being interested in black magic or having prophetic visions as a way to enhance his character in House of the Dragon, an idea that I'm not totally opposed to as long as it fits well with the tone and the kind of story they're looking to tell. It maybe would give more context to Aegon's actions and wanting to take Westeros, and also help tie into the main show as well, perhaps having more info about the Long Night in it than we expect. However, after the questionable handling of Season 8, I would personally think HBO will try and stay well clear of this, hence why Blood Moon, the Long Night spin-off, isn't going forward. For me, I don't think I'll be ready for any Long Night stuff for a long time. So what will House of the Dragon do with Aegon? I think it's clear they're going to need to expand on what is already established to make a rounded character. But if we take what we know, we already get some idea. He was an intelligent man who planned his invasion meticulously, loyal to the people he loved and rewarding their loyalty, such as the case with Orys. But at the same time, he had the harsher side of a Targaryen, fire and blood, and took drastic action if need be. His actions spoke of a clear and confident man who trusted in his own ability. This will give HBO a good starting point. I think they will use his relationship with Rhaenys and Orys to help make his character more human than in Fire and Blood, and bring a soul to the legend. An interesting idea would be to use Visenya as sort of his foil, in a way you could cause conflict. The devil on his shoulder, preaching Fire and Blood. This then would mesh well with Maegor. What would you like to see HBO do with Aegon's character? Do you want them to preserve the enigma that he is in Fire and Blood? Or would you like them to expand on him more and really get to know him as a person? Let me know what you think down in the comments.